Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing with Excellence podcast. This is your holistic health expert, Kimberly Miller, and we have an amazing guest on today that I've not seen in quite some time, Mr. Chris Lamia. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for referring to me as amazing.
Yeah. Well, if I call you sir, I know you don't like being called sir, but I'm
Yeah.
not doing that because I
I
respect
don't
you.
know if I like amazing any better.
I know I have a tough time accepting compliments, but no, I
I
get it
know.
totally. But no, Chris and I met back in 2014, and I'm going to have him give a little bit of his perspective or what had happened for him
Mhm.
before we met. And then I'll share my story as to how we got connected and then what transpired after that. But prior to me meeting you in 2014, Chris, do you remember what initial symptoms you had? And then what physicians you went to that led to your initial diagnosis?
Yeah, so my main issue was back issues. So I had several, I think, four back surgeries at the
Okay.
time, and I was just sort of acting up, and I was cramping and twitching and all that good stuff, and having a hard time walking. I had to use a cane back then, if you remember,
Mhm.
and just kept going to all these back specialists, and ended up getting to a neurologist. And that's
Mhm.
when they started noticing from all the fasciculations in my legs, and which led them to start sending me to the neurologist to do some more in-depth testing, if you will, to find
Mhm.
out to find out that crazy diagnosis.
Yeah, and so you ended up with a physician that I had dealt with about 6 months prior, Dr. Katzen at USF, right? She was a
Yes.
specialist for ALS, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Her and her father, actually, her father, I believe, started the ALS at Morsani Center in USF. Her father was like the big wig, and then she kind of took over the reins there.
okay, yes, and I had worked with a previous client 6 months prior that it didn't turn out so well, which made me very passionate about meeting with you. And
Yes. Now I
so
remember. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so she was the specialist, and is that where you received the initial diagnosis of ALS, was at USF?
No, the first one was. There's no way I'm going to name names. I
That's
can't
okay,
remember
you don't
exactly.
have to.
There because there were three. So that was the last opinion that I had. The first one was in Newport Richey, somewhere out there, and
Okay.
that was the first one. I forget where the second one was, but then Dr. Katzen was the final. We weren't going to keep chasing to hear what we wanted to hear. We just took the diagnosis and rolled with it.
I completely understand. And at that time, I remember by the time I met you, Mariah had said you guys asked them, was there anything you could do to like slow the progress or for healing? And I believe they said something like, oh no, just let him live his best life. There's nothing you can do nutritionally, just have him
Yep.
let him enjoy his time. Is that
Yep.
what?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yes, that the biggest thing, and I think the biggest joke when it came to that was their nutritionist basically just told us, "You like cake, eat whatever you can." We find that the heavier you get, the longer you live, and all that good stuff. But in the little bit of research that I did was, I figured that there's no way you can eat crappy because your cell growth is just going to die off, and your liver is designed to fight off disease. And if you're killing your liver by killing all its cells, it doesn't make sense. And so right away we were a little combative with that, but and then that's where you sort of came in.
Yeah, what I find any client that I've worked with that has been diagnosed with ALS or Parkinson's, when they're going to check in with their physician, the check-in is really just preparing for death. Like you should record your
Mhm.
voice now, so that way
Yeah.
if you lose your voice later, you have it. You should start this breathing machine and breathing exercises so it helps you
Yep.
proactively. There's no preparation for slowing the progress from what I have seen at most large
Mhm.
um, facilities.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. That's exactly, they get you hooked up with the ALS Institute or Association, and that's exactly what they did. Especially the talking about recording your voice is like, oh, what a horrible thing to even think. But
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's scary. And when I saw the nutritional handout, back in the day in the fitness industry, when I would go to large conferences, I thought the people with the booths at all the conferences and health events were like vetted out to be the best of the best. I didn't know they all
Yeah.
paid. be there. Well, I didn't realize the sheet that is handed out for ALS nutrition that markets like Ensure and Boost is actually purchased for the marketing from Abbott Industries, who makes those drinks, to tell you to drink those drinks to keep you healthy. But like you said, they're not really looking for optimal nutrition for optimal cell metabolism or cellular renewal. They're just looking to keep weight on, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're actually be healthy if you do it that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, not for me, for sure. I'm glad I went the path I did, obviously, but yeah, no, it just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense at all.
Yeah, so what happened on my end, I had lost someone 6 months prior that I 100% believe could stall or reverse the disease based on
Hmm.
what I was seeing. It looked like a muscle problem and a malnourishment. And I had helped a gentleman in his 70s stall the disease process for 3 months. And I missed one appointment with him, and the physician said, "Oh, stop listening to that personal trainer. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Just eat whatever you want." And he met with me because he really wanted to do the right thing by her, do the right thing by me, and do the right thing by his spouse. And I told him, I said, if you don't eat these foods, it's going to accelerate your decline, or if you don't nourish your body. And sadly, after he changed course and started drinking the pre-made nutritional shakes to make life easier, he
Hmm.
wasted away in under 8 weeks and passed away. And
Yep.
for it was devastating to see what he was doing in his 70s and what he actually reversed dropped head syndrome. He got to cancel a feeding
I
tube.
remember you saying that. Yep.
It was crazy. So anyway, what happened is your story was in the newspaper and I read
Hmm.
about it. And at that point, I wanted to help anybody that was diagnosed with ALS, just to see if I was losing my mind or
Yeah.
if there was a possibility. And then literally like a week later, Shelly Redmile asked,
Yeah.
"Kim, do you have organic meats there that a friend of mine that's diagnosed with ALS could buy?" "Is this the guy in the paper?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's my best friend." And I'm like, "Can I meet with him?" I said, "If he's willing to meet with me, I will
Yeah.
donate all my time as long as he's willing to listen." I said, "But if he doesn't want to listen or try, I don't want to meet with him because it'll be too hard for me to watch you pass, you know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it again so
Yeah.
closely." And when you and I met,
I guess I listened.
you did listen. Yeah, 2014, it's now
Yeah.
2026. Yeah,
Amazing.
that's easier. We met, I think, when you were 42. Was
Shut up.
I think
32. What's wrong with that? I thought your memory was supposed to be perfect.
Oh,
42.
sorry. No, you were 22. I don't reveal your age. Yeah, yeah. No,
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
God.
No. Hey, my brain. Yeah. See, I'm doing my
Yeah.
Alzheimer's prevention training.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, so when we met, you
Yeah.
were really having a, so normally when I meet with somebody, especially with a neurological diagnosis, I do a special neuromuscular testing. I check their lean body mass. I look at the diet. I look at the mental stress. And when we tried to test your muscles, your legs were so stiff and so
Yeah.
spastic. It was hard to even straighten them out to do the appropriate testing.
Yeah.
So we could only test what we could in the beginning, but we did the best that we could. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I remember. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy too. It's still to this day, every once in a while, my legs will get highly spastic too, where they just, if I overexert, it's just
Mhm.
like, they just don't want to work. Remember how my toes used to get? It
Yeah.
still do the same thing every once in a while, but and it goes back to when I do get in that state, I just have to rewind the clock a little bit,
Mhm.
look at what I'm eating, check my diet, and just readjust, and I'm back and I'm fine.
No,
Crazy.
and it's so true. And that's it, is just knowing how the body works. So again, like if a car is overheating and you don't know that it needs fluid in the radiator, it's going to look like it's broke. But as soon as
Yeah.
someone tells you it needs fluid, it's can be corrected. Well, our body is the same way. If you don't know what's missing, it's going to look like it's incurable
Yep.
until you get what it needs. So when you and I did that manual muscle testing, we did find a problem in your neck and your diaphragm, creating the inability to take a full breath, which was creating the muscle wasting process. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we corrected that, that gave us like
Yeah.
a piece to the puzzle. And then at the time when I met you, you were going through a little bit of a depression, of course, because you got the diagnosis of ALS and
Hmm.
basically were preparing for death. So there was days that you were up to like 2 or 3 a.m., maybe eating 1,000 calories. You were so sad. You're like, "Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
remember all this." Yeah.
Just from 2 to 3 a.m., I was about 1,000 calories. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember telling you if I was only eating 1,000 calories, I would have half your symptoms too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we checked your lean body mass, I was explaining to you that it's not just about gaining weight or maintaining weight. It's about gaining lean tissue, nerves, bone, cartilage, muscle, and not wasting any lean tissue. That if you lost any weight and if it was only body fat, that we were going to be okay. But if you lost lean mass, we were going to see an increase in symptoms. You remember that?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I do. Yeah. Look at that. It's so funny because every time you say something, it's like clicks right back. It's weird.
So the most profound day was the first day, and I told you, don't have to be perfect, but for your lean body mass and your basal metabolic rate, you had to eat over 2,000 calories a day. And I suggested you increasing your grass-fed beef. And you're literally the first person ever that went home that day and cooked a 1 pound steak, took the picture, and
And a
sent
George Foreman grill.
I was like, why didn't mean you had to eat a 16-ounce steak that day? But it ended up actually being one of the best plans to do. The 16-ounce steak was perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Just showed me that you were motivated and you were ready to make a change, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's sad that you have to wait for something so scary in your life to make you make some changes, but for me, it was the best thing that ever happened, oddly
Yeah, well,
enough.
yeah, and no, honestly, all my chronic ailments that I dealt with in the past became my greatest blessing. So your test does become your testimony
Yeah.
if we choose to make it that. If we, because really the biggest thing that you and I would discuss is faith, staying focused on the solutions versus the symptoms.
Yeah.
Uh, and there was times like I can remember because I tracked your lean body mass the entire 9, 10 months that we were meeting regularly.
Hmm.
And there was about a 3 to 4 month mark. You got a little discouraged because you'd hit a little bit of a stall. And then we went back through a cell stress review to show how much stress your cells were still under. And you're like, oh, shit, I guess I have some more changes to make.
Yeah.
But when we redirected, you got right back on target. You just needed some more guidance on how to perfect your strategy is really all you needed, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And with your guidance, it made it a lot easier. A lot
Yeah.
easier, that's for sure. Because now, and I still have the same struggles now. Just when you don't have him pushing your buttons, it's not that easy to get back on track, but we still know to get back on track. So
Yeah, what I appreciate even for me, if I get off kilter a little bit, I know now what to do. So there's no fear involved anymore.
yeah.
I now know I need to hold myself accountable. Like you said, just tweak it. So when you and I met too, what happens to a lot of people, it's not even that we don't want to be healthy. Some of what we were taught is healthy is actually opposite because you were weight training pretty hard before this happened. You were doing protein shakes, you were gaining mass. But
Hmm.
some of the routines you were doing were impacting the diaphragm, impacting the nervous system. And so once you learned what tweaks to make with the food and the exercise program that didn't exhaust your nervous system, you really just started to accelerate in your healing
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Yeah. That's You're absolutely right.
Did
And you
you
know
even
what? I'm probably going a little backwards now with, because my diaphragm's not that great, as it were back in those days, but my training's definitely increased, my weight training, and I'm probably overcompensating.
God probably didn't make a mistake at having this be the perfect timing because we've tried to schedule this like 4 times. So maybe this podcast happened today to just remind you so that we never backtrack.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe so. Yeah, there you go. You got to
I
we got to keep in better touch. But I know it is kind of funny because I was like, Kim was supposed to get with me, or was I supposed to get with her? I don't know, but I knew we'd reconnect. So I'm glad we're
Yeah,
here.
well, we're both busy. One of the other things we did that a lot of people don't realize, you were taking some supplements when you met with me, but what's tough, there's all kind of recommendations with supplements. And so I shared with you something I had went through and I told you I did the SpectraCell customized micronutrient test. And it was really amazing. When we got that test back from you, every deficiency you had matched your symptoms. So a lot of the fasciculations were coming from low magnesium. There were
Yeah,
some issues with B vitamins. So when we targeted our approach with the supplementation, with the food, the mental stress and the diaphragm correction, again, like things started to accelerate. And like really over a 9 to 10 month period, it was like close to 70% of your symptoms
yeah,
had lifted or improved. But I don't know
yeah.
how much of that you remember.
I do. I definitely do. But just by you mentioning magnesium, though, like I don't remember the specific deficiencies, but yeah, absolutely, I remember, and I remember the turnaround and how quick it was, and how easy it
Yeah.
was too.
Now, there was one thing I remember when we first met, because your doctor that you had, she had a great bedside manner. She had the tech as a specialist. She was very nice to you. But I explained to you that her bedside manner didn't make her an expert in your situation. I forwarded you the email transaction that I had with the previous patient to try to gain
Yeah,
your buy.
yeah,
And please trust me, even though I respect her for her knowledge.
yeah,
And I remember telling you, do not tell them anything you're doing because they will naysay it. They'll get in your head and you might lose the faith
yeah.
and stay the course. Do you remember just kind of doing what you were doing with it and just going through
Absolutely.
your motions?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's kind of funny because when I sort of settled up with USF and I kind of told them everything, it's exactly the way it was. It was like, oh, pushed it off to the back burner. Good for you. I'm less than 0.001%. We're just going to chalk it up to, misdiagnosis and call it a day. But even no matter what my diagnosis was,
Right.
my symptoms drastically changed. So what's your explanation for that? And it wasn't
Exactly.
that I was eating Entenmann's because I wasn't doing what they told me to do. If I did, I would have probably fell right in the same boat as everybody else and just faded away.
Yeah, no, I was grateful too. There was a few sessions that Mariah came to, and that helped a lot, having like a second set of eyes to support at home and her to
Yeah.
share what she was experiencing at USF too. So that was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God for her. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning too, how did you, I don't know if you can remember how you coped with this, because this is hard for some people. You and I definitely was very much a fitness enthusiast before I got diagnosed with Epstein-Barr. Having to scale back and do less is not always easy, but literally the whole first 9 or 10 months that you and I worked together, you only did basic posture therapy exercises and corrective. You did no strength training. Do you
Yeah.
remember?
Which was, yeah. Yeah. For me, no, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's not like I
Good.
was, somebody that was in the gym 3, 4 hours a day, every day. No, it was perfectly easy for me because I can kick back and really my favorite pastime is being lazy. So that worked out pretty well for me.
I would never get that from you. It was so funny because when we met, you said you did like to cook and you used to own a
Yeah.
restaurant. You got into
Yeah.
prep, you hadn't
Yeah.
been cooking. So I was so grateful when you knew how to cook a steak and you were willing to cook the steak. It was so
Yeah. 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 Really.
yeah.
That's kind of how, Mariah will know if I'm on or not, is if I'm willing to cook or, get out and jump on the grill, or it's still the same to this day. It's
Yeah.
just, it's funny. Yeah.
Now, do you remember you were when I met you, part of a clinical trial at USF, and I
Mhm.
believe you were supposed to be declining in the clinical trial and and then tracking it, but because you weren't declining and you started getting better, they had to remove you from the clinical trial. Is that, am I remembering that correct?
Yeah. Hey, babe. Sorry. Do you
It's
remember
okay.
when they kicked me out of the trial study? Well, I think I only went twice. Yeah. Yeah. She said it was more of a side effect thing, but yeah, I remember I believe it was only two visits and they were done. They wanted to get rid of me. They didn't want me in it. So
Yeah, and then there was a time that I was so me, if ever I'm labeled controlling now in this situation, is I do want to save people. I'm not as bad as
yeah.
I used to be. I allow people to make their own choices now without freaking out. But I can remember
Wow.
the thing that you're like, sure, kid, sure. I know you don't believe me, but I'll swear. But no, the one thing that was a really big deal to me at the end is you wanted them to see how much you had truly healed, that you were going to allow them to do a biopsy of your calf muscle to
Mm,
kind of show that you had healed the tissue and that you no longer had ALS. And I remember saying to you, Chris, we just got back to function. If they cut that out, it could cause a problem. And I said,
yeah.
and they never did a first biopsy. So how are they going to compare apples to
Yep.
apples? But you're
Yep.
like, "Kim, I'm determined to wake these people up because they weren't
Yeah.
listening to what you did."
Yeah.
And something happened that day. I think you had to sign a consent form that changed your mind.
Yeah. When they told me I'd lose feeling in my leg. I think that was like, okay, no, I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
because they were actually gonna cut the nerve and
right,
be able to feel my foot or something to that effect. But
right.
yeah,
And yeah, and as you know, there's no formal real diagnosis, like a test that can prove ALS. It's basically they
yeah,
rule out you don't have this, so you must have ALS, right?
yeah. You would think you would start with something lesser in the process of elimination, but they go right for, they go right for the jugular. Now what they say is they believe it's cramping fasciculation syndrome because I'm building muscle again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still having fasciculations. I still have, I cramp, nothing crazy. It just is what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
they believe that's what it is. But at the end of the day, the neurologist that I switched over to even said, um, the only true way to ever find out what it is through autopsy. So I'll never know what I have. All I know is I'm good. I'm just gonna keep going forward, and
Yeah.
whatever it is, it is, So yeah, I'm blessed.
No, it is amazing. I know. So within that year, I believe they told you that you're the only reversal or misdiagnosis they
Yeah.
had ever to you at
Yeah.
USF, right?
Yeah. Less than 0.001%. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when originally went, I had a cane. I couldn't,
Mhm.
I could walk, but I couldn't really, I wasn't too stable.
Right.
Um, I couldn't grip without just fasciculating like crazy. All the tests, from the scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, I was between a 1 and a 2. And
Right.
then what was it, year 3, I think. I was a 4 and a 5. So my strength, everything just I
Yeah.
was back. It's just crazy. Yeah, they couldn't
Yeah. No,
believe it.
no, it's absolutely amazing. I was just grateful that you're willing to apply and to track it with me and to cherish your body once you knew what to do, you know?
Heck yeah, yeah. It was a great journey, a great run. Obviously, it's not over. We still got a long ways to go, but just uh, just the path that it led myself and my family on is, like I said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because different outlook on life, different perspective, wonderful people that are in my life, even though we don't see or talk all the time, we're
Yeah.
connected, and it's been amazing. And then I'm lucky because I get to tell a story that might change somebody's life or at least change their day. And if you can give somebody a little bit of hope just for
Hmm.
today by listening to somebody's story, then to me that's what I'm here for. That's my part.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful. And when we think about it, back then in 2014, they estimated maybe a 3 to 5 year survival rate
Mhm.
and really most likely a pretty severe disability. So depending on no
Yeah.
matter how long you were able to live, it could have been severely disabling where you didn't get to live at all, just a very limited
Yeah.
life. To see you after that first year or two go back to exercising in the gym, you're playing golf. I know that's not always the best for the neck and back, but you got to play golf and then now you're back to working full
Yep.
time.
Yep. Playing
So
golf, working out, doing exactly what I love to do, It's great.
yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that again, like we could have done a testimony a year in, and you did actually do a video years ago. But think
Mhm.
about 12 years later, because sometimes it looks like there was a success with a surgery or a protocol, but now if you go more than a decade and the person's still doing amazing, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And then we'll do it again in another 10 years. See
Yeah,
where we're
exactly.
at.
How you do it. Now, and just to share with others, because this was the other big thing that I know that was tough for you through the healing process, we had to work through survivor's guilt because
Oh
you had
gosh,
become
yeah.
so connected with other people with ALS
Yeah.
that had
Yeah.
continually declined, or by the time you met them, they were already at such a progressed rate with the disease
Oh
that
yeah.
it's difficult to help give them advice to turn it around. And I know that was very tough
It
initially.
still is. Yeah, it still is. I think it always will be because, you you go to these support groups and obviously the people that are going to the support groups are positive people and that's who you want to be around, right? They're not
Right,
just sitting at the home just, dying. But
right.
yeah, 90% of the people that I met in there were much better than, much better of a person than I am in my eyes. Great father, mother. Eh,
Mhm,
Awesome people, and yeah, it was hard. It was hard to see them perish, and then here I am, and why me? Not
mhm.
for me or pity me, but why me? Why not them? But there was some time, couple of times where on Facebook or something, one of their family members would reach out and we'd talk and made their day, and that's awesome. That's
No.
I
Well,
know there's a bigger reason for everything, so
yeah, and what's so hard is even though some of what you and I went through can be hard for people to believe that it's really such a profound impact to understand your muscle compensations, your nutritional intake, your nutrient deficiencies, your lean body mass. They might not realize that's just like the core to how all of your cells work. And I know one time when I shared about your story on YouTube, so and I'm just going to bring this up because it's really important.
yeah.
Somebody said, "Boy, you're such an evil person that you would prey on people with ALS to give them false hope."
Yeah.
So scary because I had another local gentleman that was diagnosed by three large facilities, Boston Medical, USF, and one other facility, I think by Shan somewhere. And all three places told him that he had ALS and that the only thing he could do was eat cashews and coconut oil
Yeah.
to help. I'm like, how's cashews and coconut oil going to help with ALS? But I was thinking these three renowned universities, that's the most they could come up with.
Yeah.
And they're not checking your body composition, your muscle dysfunction, the content of your nutrient intake when you're going to the nutritionist at any of the universities.
Yeah. 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 I don't want to
It's
talk bad about any doctors. I know they do what
they
they're
know.
doing their best, right? That's all they know, and yeah. It's just I think they just get in the rut, and let's just get through another day and punch the clock. Everybody is different. Everybody's body is different. I mean, I can work out a muscle a certain way and
Mm.
have amazing gains, and somebody else can do the same thing and won't. Your body is different. Everybody's different, and I just treating everybody as if it's a factory and just bringing them in and saying, "Do this, do this, do this, do this." It's just getting me through the process. So
Yeah, and again, to the physician's defense, this is just what they're taught. This
that's
is
all
what
they
they're
know.
taught. They're so slammed, and they're also regulated by the medical board that they have to follow things a certain way.
Yeah,
Otherwise they could be held accountable by their licensing board. And in our world, in the fitness world and the holistic world, when you're looking at sports nutrition and body composition, we have to look at different parts of the body that the physician doesn't look at. And so
yeah,
we work together more, we actually can all fill in the gaps because there are some things that we need sometimes medically to help somebody through a hump. Like I had one person with ALS that we needed a short-term feeding tube to get the energy in. And I couldn't
yeah.
have done that myself. I needed a physician, but you
I
have
think
to
I
have
remember that. Yeah,
willing to work like in an integrative plan.
yeah, yeah. I think I remember that with the
Well,
feeding
the
tube.
one girl that you remember, because she wasn't established with a physician, I actually just told a piece of her story yesterday. She was only 41 and we could not get
Oh,
her
man.
tube and she did pass away.
I
Um,
remember going to visit her. Yeah,
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 yes, it was rough. But again, we only do what we can and there's something bigger in charge than us. So, but I
yeah,
appreciate the faith that you had, the perseverance, and it's amazing to see you guys still here 12 years
yeah.
later.
We're still going and thriving. We're still
Yeah.
doing our thing. So
Awesome. And then
just
you have
not
a
just not in Florida.
no, that's okay. You can take this anywhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And the main reason I want to do the podcast with you is because there are so many people that are just right on the cusp of whether or not to remain in faith. And when
Hmm.
that gets tough, they don't realize that, okay, we just have to look at a different angle, stay focused on our faith, stay focused on the solution versus the problem, because that's the hardest piece. If you let your mind take control in the negative or the
Yeah.
symptoms
Oh
kind
God,
of
yeah.
focus, you
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah, yeah. If you start going down that path, it's hard to get out of that rut. That's for sure. It's so much easier to be negative than it is positive, because we're surrounded by negativity every single day. Every
Yeah.
every app you click on, there's something negative. And I'm
Mhm.
I'm not perfect. I'm just as I have to tell myself all the time, but it's hard. It's hard to stay focused on the positive, and I think if we all can, we'd be a much better place. That's for sure.
Well, and think about it when you're already at what some would call your worst, it's definitely like when we're at our best, it's hard to stay positive, let alone when you actually feel your worst. And if you had 3 institutions tell you have ALS, it's a little hard to just
It
stay
is.
happy.
It
Yeah.
is. It definitely is. But and and like going back to like those support groups too, that was the best part of those is because there were people completely on their final stages and smiling and happy to see you, hug you, whatever. That is that was the best testimony on how to be positive that I can ever imagine. I mean, I can still there's one guy that I can see. Like I can close my eyes and see him.
Aw.
Yeah. Just the most positive person in the world in tremendous pain every second.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Yeah. No, but he was the right person at the right time to help inspire you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yes.
So
Some people I've lost like that, like the gentleman that I lost 6 months before you, I consider them, I call it
yeah.
a superficial death. It was their time to pass, but something about them helped me in my journey or my healing or others in their
Yeah.
healing. He was there to help inspire you at the right time.
Yeah. 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 It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. He might have been he was I might have been his why. And then you think of like everything else that happened. And my biggest thing with the survival guilt was when COVID hit and you remember I lost so much family.
A lot of
And it was
people.
just like I was like, well, this is why. This is why I'm here because I have to be here for my family. So I think I was the link to keep the chain together at that time. So it's weird
Yeah.
when things start to make a little sense.
No, no, you're so right. But yes, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you didn't lose faith. If
Yep.
you were to share anything, and I know this sometimes like an interviewer catching you off guard, but if there was anything right now that you'd share with anybody else that's trying to heal something chronic, is there anything that you would share from your experience that you want to say?
That's it. Put me on the spot. Yeah, I mean,
You want?
I would say call Kim.
Oh,
Call Kim. I mean,
yeah.
the biggest thing is if you don't reach out sometimes and ask for advice or help. I mean, nothing's going to change. You're just gonna be the same. I think swallow your pride. Stay focused. Keep going forward. You know, if yeah, you need a Kim in your life. Everybody needs a Kim in their life, whether it's Kim herself or a family member, a friend, whatever. But yeah, always have somebody there for support because if you don't, it's just too easy to give up.
No, you're 100% right. And like, I tell people it's like for me, if I'm trying to fix my car, I'm going to screw that up. I call an expert. Like right now, you had
Yeah,
said you're doing stuff with roofing. Somebody's redoing my roof right now from melting, crashing it with the tree. And if I tried doing that myself, that building's going to be rough for a while. So
yeah,
I call an expert that can do that. So what a lot of people don't realize, they're trying to wing their health routine or their healing routine, but you sometimes just need an expert that could look at something in 5 minutes and figure out the solution versus taking 5 years and losing time. And that's
yeah,
you were dedicated, motivated, and you were already trying. You just needed those little missing puzzle pieces that you didn't know existed.
yep. And everybody has an excuse, right? So I know I go to the gym and mid 50s and try and outwork the younger kids all the time, and all the people that are my age might well not all of them. A lot of them
Yeah.
look like they're 65, um, and they just always come up and start talking, and you know there's always an excuse like, oh yeah, I wish I could lose weight like you, or I wish I can do this, or I wish I can. You can, you just choose not to. It's just there's
Yeah.
yeah, everybody has an excuse. I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, yes, you can. You just got to stay motivated and dedicated, and you can do it. There's no excuse for us to just all get fat and unhealthy.
No, I agree. And then also for me, I used to overtrain. So I would get myself buried from overtraining. And I didn't realize that there was like this threshold that the cells could only handle a certain amount of stress, and too much exercise was just as bad as too little. So I've always had to learn how to put a governor on, to where I'm not pushing backwards, because I used to have
Yeah,
that bad chronic fatigue. And I had like at least 20 or 30% of your symptoms. It kind of more, what I had mimicked more MS than
yeah,
ALS.
yeah.
Completely understand what you're
So
saying.
overtraining just wore you. You said you had more chronic fatigue.
Yeah, chronic fatigue syndrome. I had neuropathy, like dull chest aches, numbness and tingling in my arms and legs. And
Mm,
and again, I thought I was just super fit and I was able to do all that. It was impacting my heart. So there's something that I applied to your situation that you might not have been aware of. But when we did that cellular stress review, I was utilizing something from a physician, Dr. Hans Selye. He taught this theory on how stress in excess would start to create cell degeneration versus cell regeneration. And if the stress got too much, even if we perceived it as good, like I perceived the exercise as good, but my cells thought it was too much, that once it gets past that threshold, you start to degenerate versus
yeah.
regenerate. So you and
Huh,
I looked at how do
yeah.
we keep peeling back the stress so we have a balance of stress versus excess. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yep. 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 Absolutely. Hey, what was the oh, there's a video out there. Remember the laser with
Oh, yes.
my
Yes.
with my tongue? I was like, what the how the
It's
hell
still
is that
out
even
there.
possible?
Yes, you had the fasciculations really
In my
bad on your
tongue,
tongue,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
we lasered the pathway of the nerve, and you actually saw a pretty immediate results on that.
Yeah.
So you were
What's the
sending
next
videos
day?
of your yeah, it was amazing, yeah.
Sending freaky tongue videos. That
Well,
was
and that
so
was the
crazy.
very no, it's but it was the first time I ever got to experience it professionally, but I didn't wanna not try. I had a
Yeah,
feeling
it
there
was
was
great. Yeah. It
support,
was
yeah,
amazing. It was unbelievable. Do
yeah.
you still do that? You still using the
Yep,
laser?
all that
Yeah,
stuff,
that's
yeah.
great.
We
That's
all
great.
the way, yeah.
Well,
No, I
I wish I had more time. I'd come by and see you. I'm only going to be there for 2 days, but
oh, you're okay.
love to catch up.
Right now, I'm actually in the Middle East. I won't be back until Saturday. So
Oh,
I'm like
really?
8 hours ahead of you right now. And
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Oh, no
yeah.
kidding. Okay.
So I'll
Well,
be
have fun
back
with
home.
that.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. But I'll
Uh,
be back this weekend too. I hope the visit with family is great. And I
Yeah.
so appreciate you sharing your story. And thank you
Yeah.
for still being here on this physical side.
Yeah. Yeah. You kidding? Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you to Mariah too for all of her help and support during that time.
Mariah Kim said thank you. Oh, you won't
Uh-oh,
believe what she said. Ooh,
what'd she say?
you know her with that
I
mouth
want
of
to
hers.
pay me back for keeping me there 12 more years too.
No, she said, "You're welcome." She said, "For what?"
Yeah, no, honestly, what she doesn't realize, and this has been a big part of my career, is if a spouse or a
Yeah,
physician is on board, they could be such a strong force against it that the person would rather die than go against the spouse or
of
the doctor.
course.
And
Yeah,
that
of
has
course.
been so tough for me to deal with on my heart, but I have to accept it. And so
Yeah,
when you have a spouse that you're like, well, this kind of makes sense. Let's see if we can get on board. And the spouse is helping versus blocking. It's a
yeah,
completely different experience for the patient, for the person helping, and for the wife themselves or the husband, whoever's helping in that
yeah,
situation.
absolutely. Because you're exactly right. Because if she wasn't on board, like you said, yeah, it's the last thing I want to do is upset anybody else around, especially when what you're going through in such a traumatic, disease.
Yeah.
I really didn't care about myself. It's like whatever. I'm just going through the steps to try and make it better for everybody else around me, so they're not so sad. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't have that support, it's easy to not
Yeah.
care, just give up.
Yeah, and
So
you already felt somewhat like a burden because you were so used to being so self-sufficient, and she was working full time, helping with the cooking, and that's
yeah,
what we're very passionate for me to help you. I was sad that I lost the other gentleman, but he was in his 70s. He had his full life. You
yeah,
had young kids that really needed you the rest of their life too, and I
yeah.
didn't want. to lose their dad at such a young age.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, they had me on all kinds of crazy. I think it was even on morphine. Just
Mhm.
it was crazy. I was just sitting there like a like a drug addict, and that's what my kids were watching. So they were going to witness me just fade away on drugs and all that other good stuff, or they can watch me fight it and smile and be a good witness to them the whole way through. And we're
Yeah.
still doing it.
Yeah, we got off all that medication. You did the exercises, you ate the food, and you did the brain work. So
Yep.
thank you for
Yep.
being dedicated. If you need anything, message me. I'm going to send you some reminders for your breathing so you don't screw up your diaphragm in the gym.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that. But really you need to promote the main reason why you got me to just be all in was the whole ice cream thing.
yeah, you asked me if you could eat ice cream, right?
Yep, and you said, "Yeah, Publix organic ice cream." I think I ate a half a gallon that night. You're like, "Not a whole half gallon, just a little."
You put it with the 16-ounce steak, so it
Yeah,
worked
the
out.
steak, remember that, Pam?
Yeah.
I ate it right out of the whole container.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything that was gonna get you out of depression, we were willing to do for sure. Yeah, it was
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, we
yeah,
appreciate you, Kim. We love you and we're grateful. And, I'm sure I've said it before, but, I'll say it every time I see you. If it wasn't for you, we don't know where we'd be right now. So you were a big part of that puzzle piece. So
yeah,
we're
no.
grateful for you.
I appreciate your faith and trust, and thank you guys for everybody joining in. If you have any questions, feel free to post, send me a message. Anything I can do to help you on your journey, I'm more than happy to. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day.